Sweat beaded on Tom's brow as he rushed to load the last boxes into his truck. The afternoon sun beat down mercilessly, but he couldn't slow down. Not with the HOA goons circling like vultures, ready to swoop in the moment he let his guard down. "You can't do this." Mrs. Henderson's shrill voice cut through the still air. The retired schoolteacher had been the HOA president for as long as anyone could remember, and her sense of entitled indignation was legend in the neighborhood. Tom gritted his teeth, refusing to look up. "I'm well within my rights, Mrs. Henderson. This is my property, and that garden is a memorial for fallen veterans. You have no say in the matter." "That's where you're wrong, young man." She stepped closer, her manicured nails tapping against the clipboard in her hand. "Your so-called memorial is an eyesore, and it violates our strict landscaping guidelines. You have 24 hours to remove it, or we'll have no choice but to take legal action." Tom's grip tightened on the box he was carrying. "You can't be serious. This garden means everything to me. It's a way to honor the men and women who sacrificed everything for this country. How dare you try to take that away from me?" Mrs. Henderson's eyes narrowed. "I dare because it's my job to maintain the aesthetic and property values of this community. Your little memorial doesn't fit the mold, and it has to go. End of discussion." Rage boiled in Tom's veins, but he knew better than to lash out. Not with the HOA's army of lawyers at the ready. He took a deep breath, setting the box down with a thud. "I won't remove it. This garden stays, no matter what you or your precious HOA say." Mrs. Henderson's lips curled into a triumphant sneer. "Then we'll see you in court." The next morning, Tom awoke to the sound of a car door slamming outside. He hurried to the window, heart pounding, and saw a sleek black SUV parked in front of his house. Two men in suits emerged, striding up the driveway with an air of authority. "This can't be good," Tom muttered, hastily pulling on a shirt and rushing outside to meet them. "Mr. Erickson." The taller of the two men fixed him with a steely gaze. "I'm Henry Garrison, the HOA's legal counsel. This is my associate, Mr. Davis." Tom felt a knot of dread forming in the pit of his stomach. "What do you want?" "We're here to serve you with a cease and desist order," Garrison said, his voice clipped and professional. "You have 48 hours to remove that unsightly garden from your property, or will be forced to take legal action." "I already told Mrs. Henderson I'm not removing it." Tom stood his ground, jaw set with determination. "That garden is a memorial to fallen veterans, and it's not going anywhere." Garrison's eyes narrowed. "I see. Well, then I'm afraid we have no choice but to proceed with eviction proceedings. You're in clear violation of the HOA's bylaws, and we won't tolerate such blatant disregard for our community standards." "Eviction?" Tom's heart sank. "You can't be serious. This is my home, and that garden is a part of it. You have no right to do this." "We have every right," Garrison countered, his tone brooking no argument. "The HOA board has voted unanimously to have you removed from the premises. You have 48 hours to vacate the property or will be forced to take action." Tom felt his world crumbling around him. He poured his heart and soul into that garden, transforming it into a living, breathing memorial to those who had given their lives in service of their country. And now, the HOA was trying to take it all away. "This isn't over," he growled, his fists clenching at his sides. "I'll fight you every step of the way." Garrison's lips curled into a cold smile. "We're counting on it, Mr. Erickson. We're counting on it." Tom spent the next 2 days in a whirlwind of activity, scrambling to find a lawyer who could help him fight the HOA's eviction notice. He made call after call, reaching out to every legal aid organization and veterans advocacy group he could find, but the response was the same. The HOA had a strong case, and the odds were stacked against him. With time running out, Tom turned to his closest friends and neighbors, begging for help. But to his dismay, many of them were reluctant to get involved, fearful of the HOA's retribution. I'm sorry, Tom, but you know how it is with these people, his neighbor Sarah said, her eyes filled with regret. They'll make our lives a living hell if we try to stand up to them. Tom felt his heart sink. But this isn't just about me. It's about honoring those who died for our freedom. Doesn't that mean anything to you? Sarah's gaze dropped to the ground. I know, Tom. I know. But I can't risk my family's well-being. I hope you understand. Frustrated and feeling increasingly alone, Tom turned his attention to the garden itself, pouring his energy into meticulously tending to the flowers and plants that had become his personal tribute to the fallen. As the deadline loomed, he stood before the carefully tended beds, his eyes glistening with tears. I won't let them take this away from me, he whispered, his voice thick with determination. Not without a fight. The sound of a car pulling up outside drew his attention, and he turned to see a familiar face. His old army buddy, Jack, striding towards him with a resolute expression. Jack? Tom's brow furrowed in confusion. What are you doing here? Backing up a brother in arms, Jack said, a hint of a smile on his lips. I heard about what's happening, and there's no way I'm letting those HOA vultures win. You're not in this alone, Tom. Tom felt a surge of relief and gratitude, his heart swelling with hope. With Jack by his side, maybe, just maybe, he had a chance of keeping his beloved garden alive. The morning of the deadline arrived, and Tom and Jack stood side by side, facing down the horde of HOA officials and their hired muscle. Mrs. Henderson, her eyes narrowed with a mixture of triumph and disdain, stepped forward. Well, Mr. Erickson. I see you've managed to dredge up one last pathetic attempt to save your little garden. She sneered, her manicured nails tapping against the clipboard she held. But I'm afraid your time is up. The court order is clear. You have until noon today to remove this eyesore, or we'll have it removed for you. Tom's jaw tightened, and he felt Jack's hand on his shoulder, a silent show of support. I'm not going anywhere, Mrs. Henderson. This garden stays, no matter what you or your precious HOA try to do. Is that so? Mrs. Henderson's lips curled into a malicious smile. Then I'm afraid we have no choice but to proceed with the eviction. With a flick of her wrist, she signaled to the two burly men standing behind her, who immediately surged forward, intent on tearing down the garden. Tom and Jack rushed to defend the carefully tended beds, their bodies forming a human shield against the HOA's bulldozers. The air was filled with the sounds of shovels and rakes clashing, as the two men fought to protect the memorial they had sworn to defend. In the chaos, a familiar figure emerged from the crowd, a young woman, her eyes bright with determination. It was Sarah, Tom's neighbor, and she was holding a camera, capturing every moment of the confrontation. What's the meaning of this? Mrs. Henderson screeched, her face flushed with rage. You have no right to be here, and you certainly can't interfere with our lawful proceedings. Sarah's chin lifted defiantly. I have every right, Mrs. Henderson. This isn't just about a garden. It's about honoring the sacrifices of our veterans. And I, for one, won't stand by and let you destroy it. As the conflict reached a fever pitch, the sound of sirens echoed in the distance, drawing ever closer. Tom and Jack exchanged a look of cautious hope, their hearts pounding in their chests. The cavalry had arrived. The police cars pulled up, their lights flashing, and a team of officers quickly sprang into action, separating the combatants and restoring order to the scene. Tom and Jack stood by, their clothes disheveled and their faces etched with a mixture of relief and trepidation. Mrs. Henderson, her own appearance similarly rumpled, glared at them with undisguised fury. This is outrageous, she spat, her voice shrill. Those men are trespassing on private property and interfering with a lawful eviction. They need to be arrested. One of the officers, a seasoned-looking veteran, stepped forward, his brow furrowed. Ma'am, I'm going to need you to calm down and explain the situation to us. Mrs. Henderson launched into a tirade, her words dripping with indignation. These men are in clear violation of the HOA's bylaws. They're refusing to remove an unsightly garden that is an eyesore to the entire community. We've taken them to court, and the judge has ruled in our favor. They have no right to be here. The officer listened intently, his gaze shifting to Tom and Jack. Is this true, gentlemen? Are you refusing to comply with the court order? Tom stepped forward, his expression resolute. Officer, that garden is a memorial to fallen veterans. It's not an eyesore. It's a tribute to those who sacrificed everything for our country. I won't remove it, no matter what the HOA says. The officer's eyes narrowed as he considered Tom's words. I see. And what about the court order? The HOA is abusing its power. Jack interjected, his voice steady. They're trampling on this man's right to honor those who served. That's not something we're going to stand for, not on our watch. The officer's gaze shifted to Sarah, who had been quietly documenting the entire confrontation. Ma'am, can you confirm what these gentlemen are telling me? Sarah nodded emphatically. It's true, officer. The HOA is trying to destroy a sacred memorial, all in the name of their precious community standards. This isn't about a garden. It's about honoring our veterans. The officer's expression softened, and he turned back to Mrs. Henderson. Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you and your associates to stand down. This appears to be a matter of community interest, and we're not going to be intervening in a dispute over a veteran's memorial. Mrs. Henderson's face twisted in outrage, but she knew better than to argue with the police. With a huff, she and the HOA representatives retreated, their defeat written all over their faces. Tom and Jack exchanged a relieved glance, their shoulders sagging as the tension drained from their bodies. The battle had been won, but the war was far from over. In the aftermath of the confrontation, Tom and Jack stood together, surveying the now tranquil garden. The flowers and plants, once on the brink of destruction, now stood tall and vibrant, a testament to their unwavering determination. Sarah approached them, a gentle smile on her face. I'm glad the police stepped in when they did. That was a close one. Tom nodded, his expression somber. Yeah, but I have a feeling this isn't the end of it. The HOA won't give up that easily. Jack placed a reassuring hand on his friend's shoulder. We'll be ready for them, Tom. We're not going to let them take this away from you, or from all the veterans who gave their lives for this country. Sarah's brow furrowed. What do you mean? Do you think they'll try something else? Tom sighed heavily. I wouldn't put it past them. Mrs. Henderson is as stubborn as they come, and she's got the entire HOA board backing her up. They're not going to let this go without a fight. Well, then we'll be ready to fight back, Sarah declared, her eyes shining with determination. I've already started reaching out to the local media, and I know a few veterans organizations that might be able to help. We're not going to let them win this one. Tom felt a surge of gratitude, his heart swelling with a renewed sense of hope. Thank you, Sarah. I don't know what I'd do without you and Jack in my corner. The three of them stood there, united in their resolve to protect the garden and the sacred memory it represented. They knew that the battle was far from over, but they were prepared to face whatever challenges lay ahead, determined to preserve this living tribute to the fallen heroes who had given their all for their country. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the garden, Tom couldn't help but feel a sense of pride and purpose. This was more than just a patch of earth. It was a symbol of resilience, a testament to the enduring spirit of those who had served. And with the support of his friends and the community, he was ready to defend it, no matter the cost. In the weeks that followed, the battle over Tom's Veterans Memorial Garden only intensified. The HOA, led by the ever-persistent Mrs. Henderson, refused to back down, launching a relentless campaign to have the garden removed. They filed multiple lawsuits, each one more convoluted and expensive than the last. They tried to sway public opinion, flooding the local media with stories about how the unsightly garden was dragging down property values and undermining the community's aesthetic. They even went so far as to threaten Tom's friends and neighbors, warning them that if they continued to support him, they would face the wrath of the HOA. But Tom and his allies refused to be cowed. With the help of a pro bono lawyer and the growing support of the local veterans community, they fought back at every turn. They organized rallies, launched social media campaigns, and even staged a peaceful protest in front of the HOA's headquarters. The conflict quickly became the talk of the town, with residents divided over the issue. Some sided with the HOA, arguing that Tom was being unreasonable and that the garden was truly an eyesore. Others, however, rallied behind him, seeing the memorial as a powerful symbol of the sacrifices made by those who had served. As the legal battles dragged on, the tension in the community reached a fever pitch. Neighbors who had once been friendly now found themselves at odds, with families torn apart by the divisive issue. But through it all, Tom remained steadfast, his determination fueled by the memory of the fallen heroes he sought to honor. He knew that giving up was not an option, not when the stakes were so high. Finally, after months of bitter fighting, the case went to trial, with both sides presenting their arguments before a judge. It was a tense and emotional proceeding, with Tom's lawyer eloquently laying out the significance of the garden and the HOA's blatant disregard for the community's veterans. In the end, the judge's ruling was unequivocal. The garden was to remain, and the HOA was ordered to pay Tom's legal fees, as well as a substantial fine for their egregious abuse of power. As the news spread, the community erupted in celebration. Tom, overwhelmed with relief and gratitude, embraced his friends and neighbors, tears of joy streaming down his face. The veterans' memorial garden had survived, a testament to the power of determination, community, and the unwavering spirit of those who had given their all for their country. In the aftermath of the court victory, Tom's garden became a symbol of hope and resilience, not just for the local community, but for veterans and their supporters across the country. Word of the HOA's heavy-handed tactics and the community's impassioned defense of the memorial quickly spread, capturing the attention of national media outlets. Tom found himself inundated with interviews, his story featured in newspapers, magazines, and television news segments. But the spotlight didn't stop there. Donations began pouring in from across the nation, with people from all walks of life contributing funds to help maintain and expand the garden. Veterans organizations reached out, offering their support and expertise in creating a truly meaningful and impactful tribute. As the garden blossomed and grew, it became a gathering place for the community, a space where people could come to reflect, remember, and honor those who had served. Veterans would often visit, sharing their stories and finding solace in the carefully tended beds and winding paths. For Tom, the garden had become more than just a memorial. It was a living, breathing embodiment of the values he held dear: sacrifice, resilience, and the unwavering spirit of the human soul. "This isn't just my garden," he often told visitors. "It belongs to all of us, to the men and women who gave their lives in service of this country, and to the community that rallied to protect their memory." The HOA, once so determined to see the garden destroyed, had been forced to admit defeat, their reputation tarnished by the public outrage over their actions. Mrs. Henderson, once the self-proclaimed queen of the neighborhood, had resigned in disgrace, her legacy forever marred by her petty and vindictive crusade. In the end, the garden had become a testament to the power of the human spirit, a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming adversity, the determination to honor the sacrifices of the past can triumph over the forces of greed and entitlement. As the years passed, the garden continued to thrive, a living, breathing tribute to the men and women who had given their all. And for Tom, that was the greatest victory of all.